All right. Again, I want to test my audio. I'm having a. Can everybody hear me? All right. What I'd like to be able to do right now, I'm going to chat in the window because I don't hear anybody on the other end. I can see yeses. All right, great. Thank you for that. This is not webcams aren't showing up on the screen. Well, I'm Ed Finney from Ipple Middle School in Schodack, New York. Today we're going to talk about picking your platform for the NCSS New Orleans and more or less different presentation techniques and strategies around it. If possible, if you have another device, if you go to nearpod.com, that would be great. It's a free site. You don't need to log in. You just go to nearpod.com and you enter this pin DIQLG. And if you don't have that, a second device, not a big deal. I'll be sharing my Nearpod presentation with you. Nearpod is, I think it's been around for a couple of years now. I picked it up at, I think, NCSS in Denver a couple of years ago, and I've been using it quite a bit. So it's been a really decent platform. They keep on adding to it, and it's something that's going to be sticking around, unlike a lot of some other platforms kind of come and go, or they give you a free version, and those versions will change. But for those of you who don't know Nearpod, it's basically another alternative to a PowerPoint. We've all are familiar with PowerPoints, but using a Nearpod, it'll give us the opportunity to be interactive with each other. And one of the things I've noticed, I'll just talk a couple minutes while you guys are getting logged in a Nearpod, of attending a half dozen or so NCSS conventions. You don't know what you're going to walk into when you go into to see a presenter. I've been in, sometimes you're 25 people deep outside in a hallway trying to hear what's going on, and that's how I picked up Nearpod. The person had their Nearpod code on the screen, and I was in the hallway using my smartphone. I was able to go through and actually listen or follow along with the presentation, which was helpful. But as you're logging in, you'll see the Nearpod code is on the upper left-hand side of your screen. And if you haven't used it, this is great in the classroom because it shows green. That means there's 5 people logged in, and it will tell me who's logged in. If it goes red, that means right now somebody left the room and went somewhere else. We're not just going to focus all on Nearpod today. We're going to talk about other presentation techniques, but we're going to use this platform to share it. Also, you'll be able to use this same code, DIQLG, to log back in to Nearpod at a future date, because I have like 50 slides. We're not going to get through all the slides. And that's something else I like about Nearpod as well. We get, the code to log in is in the upper left-hand side. It's it's DIQLG. That's the code. But again, it works out great for Nearpod. I know at the last session, Nick was talking about being timely in your sessions. Well, it's so hard to do. We're all passionate about what we want to do. We want to talk to everybody, and there's just not enough time to get through everything we want. And also, you can kind of get an idea about your audience, and you don't need to go through sometimes as many slides as you would like to either. What I'd like to find out right now, you can just use your finger or type in, how many NCSS conferences have you attended, for number one? And number two, have you presented at an NCSS conference in the past? Now, what I'd like you to do, you can just use your finger to light it, or you can type on the bottom. There's hit share. And you'll notice, too, the screen that you're seeing if you're logged into Nearpod will be different than the screen that I have. This is the presenter mode. And I use this a lot with the kids in the classroom, and it works out well because you get a chance to share the information. Oh, it's great. Looks like a lot. Nice to see so many people have attended in the past. This year, New Orleans will be my 7th, so I'm looking forward to that. And the goal for today, too, is just if you have anything to share, please make sure you share it out. I want to keep this more of an open discussion. I wish I could say that I was the expert on presentations. That would be a pretty cool thing to say, but I'm not. I'm just like everybody else is in a room. You know, I've presented at a handful of conferences in the past. You know, love talking in front of people. But there's so many tech tools out there and so many strategies. That's what's nice about being part of the NCSS technology community, is that it gives us a chance to just have open discussions frequently about the different tools that are out there. So please, anything that you like to add or share, it's not my presentation, it's just everybody's presentation to discuss. And there's so many presentation platforms to pick. You know, I think that's one of the most difficult things. And if you can search presentation platforms, I think there's a new one that opens up every week or a couple a month, that platform. Some don't stay around forever. A lot of the ones I have on the screen now have been around for quite a while. Prezi is a fun presentation tool. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Google Slides is pretty much a PowerPoint embedded into Google. Nearpod, as we're using already today. I'm a big fan of Nearpod. Don't work for the company. I just use it in my classroom, and I'm a fan for it because it becomes interactive. We have an opportunity for both sides to communicate, especially if you're in a room presenting with 75 people. You can look at their feedback afterwards. Nearpod will send you a report. You can look at all the comments and communication. Powtoons is another great platform, but I think it's kind of cumbersome. If you have a limited message you'd like to share, you can turn it into a video and upload it to YouTube. Amaze is another popular platform. I'm not sure. I believe they recently changed their structure for the free accounts. But here's just an example of a Powtoon. I'm not going to play it for you, but you can make it kind of cartoonish. You can add photographs in. This is a platform I use a lot with my students as a 6th and 7th grade social studies teacher. They'll create Powtoons as presentations and upload them to YouTube. So it's a lot of fun, and it's also something that you can leave your audience with. And for those of you not familiar with Prezi, and if you have any questions, make sure you ask, because I'm going to go through some of this stuff quick, not to bore people. If you know a lot about it, it's another fun way of sharing your information, but it allows you to zoom in. So you have your larger picture, but as you zoom into the different balloons and clouds, you're getting to the heart of your presentation and the information. Just real quick, I'd like to know what you can choose more than one. What presentation formats are you comfortable with? You know, PowerPoint, Prezi, Google Slides, Powtoons. If you're familiar with them all, or you can check them all. Okay. Well, I'm glad we're talking about. So PowerPoint's always a popular one. And I will talk a little bit about how you can convert your PowerPoint to a Nearpod if you choose to use it. And again, Nearpod's free, so it works out really well. You just have to save your PowerPoint slides as a JPEG or PDF and you can drag and drop right in Nearpod. So and then it allows you to add in questions, polls, and then you can share out with people on the other side, and they can see, see the results and see what people think. Oops. Another thing that's always been helpful at the NCSS, and if you have things to say, please make sure you let. I don't hear anybody out there, so you can feel free to let us know. Hold on a second. I don't know why I'm not hearing anybody. All right. But having a back channel chat. There's so many people in the rooms that know so much about what's going on. If you set up a Today's Meet, use your Twitter account, your Twitter feed, then it'll give people an opportunity to comment, ask you questions, give you suggestions, and you can go back and look at it. If you're not familiar with Today's Meet, it's another free service to use during your presentation. I set one up for today. We're not going to use it, but it's just as simple as todaysmeet.com/Finney. It's an opportunity for us to have an open chat. You could set your room to be open for, a week, a day, a month. Again, and it's free. And then when you go back and look at it, I know last year I must have attended 3 or 4 sessions that used Today's Meet. I use that as a lot of my reference material going back to try to find out information about the presentations. It's just an overwhelming thing being part of all the presentations. Another thing, and I'm new to Twitter, so I don't have a lot going on, with Twitter right now, but using our Twitter account. If you can give that to people in the beginning of the presentations, it will allow people to, another way to communicate. And also I found afterwards, people want to get in contact with you about your presentations, what you, more information, or also working on partnerships. I know last year I worked on, just from different communications with people through social media, I left the NCS with partnerships for, Skype, mystery Skypes, and also a video conference collaboration with my school and another school in New York State along the Erie Canal. So that was definitely really powerful. For some reason I can't hear people. I just want to type this in.
I'm muted as well.
Oh, okay. Wasn't sure. You don't have to be muted. You can stay muted. It's totally fine. I just wasn't sure if you had any questions.
Hello?
Oh, no, that's great. If you have questions, guys, I really would like to have people pipe in. You don't have to answer the questions here. This one, I just wanted to know from you, what was one presentation strategy or idea that you're planning on using at NCSS New Orleans? Is there things out there that you're looking at, as Nick was talking about? As our tech community, we try to bring together different ideas, and we're constantly learning and sharing new technology resources. And that's where we had a discussion last week. We thought Nearpod would be, a beneficial platform, one of the many platforms that people could choose in your presentation if you want. But again, when you're doing your Nearpod, it'll allow you to add or embed questions into your presentation. These might be questions that you look at after your presentation as well that can, help you or give you information on the project that you're talking about. Story mapping. Oh, great. Oh, awesome. Some good feedback's coming through. If anybody has any questions too about Nearpod, I'll also be happy to at any time to work with you on it, or any questions you can email me. But I found it to be very simple. I have one of the older teachers and one of the technology dinosaurs. I hate to pick on older teachers because it's nothing to do with it. I've been teaching for 20 years, but she's somebody who doesn't want to check her email. I showed her Nearpod one day, and it shocked me. She was able to operate it very easily, so I thought that was pretty cool. But the benefits of Nearpod over PowerPoint, if you choose to use it, is when people are in the room, everybody comes in with a device. You have multiple devices in front of them. It's kind of a way to captivate them and also keep them off of Facebook at times or whatever else they're looking at. Because when they have their computer in front of them, they're going to be following along with you on your presentation, and they'll have that digital code, that PIN, that they can access for up to a year afterwards, which is nice. You can also assign your Nearpod, give an additional PIN as a homework assignment, which I will do at the end of this presentation. Not that it's called homework in the Nearpod folder, but it will allow people to, access your Nearpod again. You may want to tailor your Nearpod that you share a little differently. I know some of us can be a little touchy about the information we share and our own ideas. And there's a lot of ideas. I mean, an hour presentation is just, I'm sure every one of us in this room today, when we're done after an hour, we're going to be, oh, I have so many more things I want to say. That's why we run over. People don't run over time because they're rude. They're running over time because we're so passionate about what we want to talk about. We just need more time. So if you have a Nearpod, it can continue on. Like I said, today's Nearpod, there's 54 slides. We're going to cover maybe 7 more of them. We're not going to go through that many of them. But there are, I'll talk more about that. Breakout groups is probably, those were the great ones when they had the different breakout groups, because then it's also another opportunity for learning from different people. But if you are going to try a PowerPoint or use a PowerPoint, switching over to a Nearpod isn't that cumbersome. But the main thing we have to say is just whatever you use, just be comfortable with it. Have something that you're ready to go. And let me jump over. But if you're going to make a Nearpod, once you log into Nearpod, you create a free account. There are accounts that you can pay for, but for this purpose, you don't need to pay for them. I think you get 3 megs, or I can't exactly remember the size of it, for your Nearpod account. But it's as simple as, you click New Presentation, and you can drag and drop your PowerPoint slides from the side of your screen right into your Nearpod. And that's what makes it so nice. It's just that it's very easy to use. A lot of the slides that I have in here today are some Nearpod slides or PowerPoint slides I slid in at the end of Nick's session. I added another slide. So it's very simple and very easy to use. And it also allows us to embed websites into people's presentations. So if you want to embed a website, and this works great for the classroom, because I'll show you right now, one of the reasons why it works so nice is that it doesn't allow the viewer on the other side, which may not work as well for the presentation mode, but when you're in your classroom, kids can't leave that presentation. They can only stay on your web page, and there's no other option for them to leave and go anywhere else. So that's kind of a nice feature as well. But it's also a resource. You have resources to share. This is a great way that everybody has it in one code. They walk out of the room with a 5-digit PIN, and they know everything that you have. I know one of the poster presenters last year also had a Nearpod presentation. I thought that was kind of unusual at first. It was just a poster presentation in the hall in Boston. Well, later on that evening, I went and clicked into their Nearpod, and it was amazing. I mean, I wish this person was at a full session for an hour, but they had their whole presentation that was set up on a Nearpod, and I was able to go through it at my own time, and it was amazing stuff. It was based on, I believe, was it social media and history. But just some presentation, tips. This is kind of reinforce some things too that Nick was talking about. Is if you're new to presenting at the NCSS, these convention halls are huge. Check out your assigned room prior to your presentation. There's some rooms that are going to be set up for, again, I haven't been to the New Orleans conference. There'll be some rooms that are set up for, 30 people. There could be your room you could be assigned could be for 200 people. It's really good to know where the room is. Go in, walk it, find out where your computer hookups are, how you get into the power strips, and just look at your presenting platform. Usually pretty cut and dry when you get there. But I know for myself, it's always takes some of the butterflies out if I know the room, especially when you're scheduled to present at 1:05 and it's 1:06 and people are still in the room and you just want to get yourself going. And another one, I think, again, these are just some canned presentation tips, but show your passion. That's one of the things about being a teacher, being an educator, being involved with social studies and history, is we're passionate about what we do. And just show that passion. Let people know how much you enjoy doing what you're doing. It doesn't matter what technology presentation platform you're doing. If you can show your passion, and that goes with you make that strong start and a great first impression, people are going to stay in your room. And also don't be, alarmed if people leave your room during the first 3 or 4 minutes. I know that's something that has been brought up. Doesn't mean people don't like your presentation. It just may not fit that. It may not be exactly what they thought, or people are just in the wrong room. But I think, that's a big part, is just, loosen up, relax. You have an hour to just really show that passion, show your presentation. I know some other things that we talked about is if you're moving throughout the room, use a remote control to advance your presentation, make things go a little more fluid. Don't make the room too dark. And I think one of the biggest ones is to share your contact information. I'm not sure how you're going to share your presentation or what you are going to share, but with Nearpod, when I present with Nearpod, I just print up like a half a sheet of paper with my contact information on it, the Nearpod pin for that presentation. Usually, I will also embed that Nearpod as a link into my website, and you can do that, and just the old-fashioned, old-school way of the paper copy. But I can't begin to tell you how many times I've been to a conference where, people prepare for 50 people and 100 people show up and there's not enough copies. So if you have a digital format, whether you share your Prezi, you have it on a website, that's one of the keys to it. And that's one of the things that's really nice about Nearpod, is that it allows you to easily share your information without any problems. And what I would like to do, I've got some more things I'd like to talk about, and I wasn't planning on talking as much as I have been. I was hoping that we could have more of an open discussion. Are there questions? You can use the chat feature if you'd like as well, that you would like to discuss about for this presentation, or platforms. I mean, there's so many different platforms to choose from. There's no magic bullet for an easy platform to choose. It's whatever works best for you. I know PowerPoint, I think by looking at the survey results, works well for all of us. But it's, using Nearpod, using Prezi is taking that one step up. And if you like, I could even show you how you make, Nearpod. I embedded in here right now. This is, I'm not going to play it, but you can show it. This is a video that you can go back and look at that has, it's a 14-minute YouTube video about how to make a PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, I agree. It's not just Nearpod. It's something that I use in my classroom. Though I go back and forth, and I use PowerPoint. I use Prezi. I try to mix it up a lot. I think Nearpod works out well in a setting like this, because if you're done after your hour presentation's over with, your presentation can kind of continue on or live on after the room's over with, after your people are out of the room. And I also know too, for those people who are new to NCSS sessions, it always seems to be there's 2 sessions that are going on at the same time that you want to be at. You do need to be connected to the internet though to use Nearpod, but I know I haven't had any issue at least in the last couple of years at the convention centers having internet. There's plenty of free Wi-Fi to be on. But again, that's always an issue. Anytime we use technology, if we lose internet connectivity, you're going to lose out on Nearpod. And that's a great question. Somebody just asked about that. And that's where, to go back to what Nick said, I would have a copy of my presentation on a hard drive or on a disk, because that's something that's going to. You can also too, when you create your Nearpod, you can export it as a PDF, and it gives you nice full slides, so you can still go through your presentation and you don't have to worry about it. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a big one with Nearpod. If you lose And I know I've had it in my classroom. I teach at Skodak, New York, which is just south of Albany. We've lost power probably kind of funny 3 or 4 times last year for random reasons. And you're in the middle of a presentation. I have 29 kids with iPads in front of them. Or we lost the internet, actually, not electricity. So we just went right to the computer and present. And it's also nice that again, another question, the ability to ask participants. That's a great question. If you have a large group, will responses be manageable? I think it'll allow you to pick and choose what questions you can go through as well. If I don't know, let me see if I can go back here. My screen is no. Being on the GoToMeeting site, it changes my screen a little bit, so I don't want to go back too far. But what you can do is you can go through and look at all the questions. So if you're scanning through the questions as they're coming in or comments, you can click on that one question and share it out with everybody in the room. You don't have to, and that's also helpful too if you have another person with you. That might be something they can do, is go through and look at it. I've presented before, for my district using Nearpod. I've presented at other sessions, and I haven't found that to be difficult. But I will agree, you're not going to have that. You just got to kind of scan and go from there. But in the same respect, you're also having more people who may not ask questions or may not give feedback because of just the size of the room. So there's pros and cons to all of it. But I found that it allows you to get more information from people. And then again, anything that people type into you have access to. You can go back in and look at it. There's just under Nearpod, you can get the report for. I believe it's up here. You can just click here on your Nearpod session, and it'll give you the reports. So any comment that was made on your Nearpod, you can click there, and you'll get your information. But that is a great question. Being manageable. But then again, if it's the same thing, if you're in a room with 50 people and 25 want to ask you questions at the end, that's not usually manageable as well. But again, another part, it allows you to add a Nearpod, or it allows you to add a video into it. And I can show you how to do that in a minute if you want. It's relatively simple to do. Most of the things with Nearpod are, they've made it very easy. I have another video you can go back and look at later on, which is, how to make a Prezi. And I also have the rest of this. There's, I think, about 30 slides. It's just design tips on how to improve your presentation. I know we all have our own style, our own flair. And I know our time is, I don't want to spend our time talking about design tips, but I will give you another Nearpod pin to allow you to come back and access this, and you can go through. There's like 30 more slides. There's more resources that are built into this. We also have the opportunity. I have different font creators that are here, color wheels, just some different things you want to look at if you feel comfortable with. There's some templates for PowerPoint presentations that are there. But again, I don't want, Nearpod's not the only one out there. That's something that works for me. I think the benefits are pretty nice with it. Again, because it'll allow you to have the opportunity to get, let your presentation go. Or if somebody can't make your presentation, you can give them your information, and it's a little more, I think it's better than just having it on a piece of paper. But paper copies are good as well. Now, is there any specific questions that you guys have about, Nearpod or, the other platforms? I mainly focus on Nearpod, and that's what the message today was just one of the things, but I was looking for all the comments from, people to see what you thought. And if you're already at that PowerPoint spot where you feel comfortable with PowerPoint, jumping into a Nearpod is something that's going to be very easy to do. And if what we can do, I'm going to end this Nearpod right now. I'll just show you a little bit of just a little bit more of the Nearpod. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm just going to move this screen down for a second. But again, also too, which is kind of nice, when you go through Nearpod, there's lots of free Nearpods that you can get. There's ones you can buy. I've converted actually all of my notes to Nearpod. So and it's it's pretty easy. You click a new presentation, and let me just move this over a little bit. You can just drag a slide right in. You can also do with a batch. You can drag the whole folder in if you want to. Let me just cancel that so I can show you. And it'll upload everything. So that's as simple as that's as difficult as it is. Once you get a free account for Nearpod, you go to PowerPoint and you save your PowerPoint as a JPEG or a PDF. It's just save as, and one of the options is a JPEG or PDF. And I usually, to make it easier, I save it on my desktop so I can drag and drop. But you drag your whole presentation in, and now you have your PowerPoint set up right in front of you. And then you have the opportunity to add content. I can make my own slide. Right in. I can create my own slide if I want instead of using a PowerPoint slide. Just allow me to make a slide. I can add a video, which is nice. They recently added. I can do a search for what the content or video that I'm looking for. So if I want to make a video on Nearpod, it will search YouTube for me, and I can go through and I could sample the videos I want before I and select them and embed them. And let me I'll just show you a couple more features. You can put in audio, your PDF, your Twitter feed, which is kind of nice. Gives you a chance to, go back to your Twitter feed. You can add web content, which is just putting in your URL for a web page that you want to show. You can share your school web page with it, or your site that you use. And this is the ones that I find are the greatest. Open-ended question. Simple as clicking it, you answer your question, and if you want to, you can add an image. And if you add an image, again, you can just go to search Google Images to add whatever image that you're looking for to go along. So I would have to say this is very user-friendly. So if you incorporated your PowerPoint, you could have a PowerPoint right now for your presentation. Say you have 40 slides. You can upload them in a matter of a couple minutes and then go through and ask some open-ended questions if you want. I know my students, beginner middle school students, they love the draw it feature. I found even adults have in the past. If you just, you ask your question, you can even embed photographs for it to for them to draw on. I have a much better experience with videos on Nearpod than I have on PowerPoint. The only problem I've had with a video is I would almost recommend that video to be something that you would want to add after, maybe after your presentation is over for somebody to look at after you're done. And the reason why I say that, if you have 50 people in your room on their devices, they're all going to access that video. There's going to be a slight lag in between each video presentation, and it's just going to be a lot of noise in the room. So I think that's something, though, that, again, which is nice. Or if you have stuff that you're not going to be able to get to, shoot your own video if you want, upload it to YouTube, and then embed it into your Nearpod. But that's another great question, about the videos. And it's one of the downfalls, one of the cons of it. You don't want 50 people in front of you looking at a video at once, because it's going to sound, it's going to be kind of jarbled throughout the room. And it's also going to use a lot of bandwidth, and that could be something that could slow people down. Are there any other questions that you guys have? If you have any questions, I'll be happy to, I know I have. You can contact me at any time. efinney@skodak.k12.ny.us. I'll be more than happy to, work with anybody on, Nearpod, help you out. Again, I would like to say I'm not, I'm not an expert on it, but I've used it quite a bit, and it's free. I will say you'll find yourself, if you start using it with your kids a lot in the classroom, you'll probably have to move up to the paid version at some point. I think the paid version right now is like $8 a month or something. It's not great. So I have my website here on the screen, and I want to thank everybody for being part of the presentation. I hope I hit on and talked about some of the things that were helpful to you guys. And I tell you, I'm really looking forward to checking out everybody's presentations and the NCSS. It's a great time, and for those of you who've only been there once or have never been to an NCSS, it's like Christmas for social studies teachers. What better thing can you ask for? So I want to thank you guys. This was great, and we will. Any questions? Make sure you contact me. Again, have a great afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your summer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you in New Orleans.
Looking forward to it.
Sir. Thank you for sharing. That was great.
Oh, you know what? Great question before you leave. How do you access this in the future? Let me go back to that. Yeah, I get myself all don't leave yet. I'm going to give you the information right now. Sorry about that. There you go. I go back to my library. All right. Here is the information right now. If you want to access this in the future, this is the pin for you to add. And I will have that on the form. I believe Nick's going to be sending out a follow-up form for everybody. This will be the link for you to access this Nearpod. And if I want, I can direct link it to everybody as well, but I don't know if you can cut and paste my screen. But this is so you go back to Nearpod and you just add these, just as you entered today. You don't need to sign in. You don't need your username's just your name, and this will be up there for up to a year for you to go back and look at it. So it's just that code. Are there any other questions? I'm glad. Thank you for bringing that up about how do you access this in the future, because I forgot all about that. Also at NCSS, guys, if you have the time, we're going to be at the Technology Showcase. We're going to be talking about tech, and also a tech town hall meeting, which are just great ideas for us to share different technologies and things that are going on. Not just us sharing with you, but you guys sharing, with what you guys are doing. And we're also going to have a tech help desk. I think this is going to be more or less not like we're helping with projectors and those things, but we're going to be working with kind of social media and just kind of connecting people while they're there. So you have the link for the future. Any questions, let me know. Or if you have, please feel free to email me. And it's been a pleasure talking to you guys today. Thank you.